Today is Thursday, November 20th, and the twins are 2 months and 2 days old. Okay, it's been a very, very long time since I've made an update to the twin adoption blog, and there's good reasons for that. A lot has been going on. In the last post, I was talking about staying in the hospital and overnight, and Gracie needs the pacifier. Staying in a hospital overnight, and that all went really well, and I didn't get a lot of sleep. The mattress wasn't that comfortable, and you could hear sounds like this buzzing noise coming from outside the room and people moving around. But I could have slept through, I think, all of that, but my brain was just kind of going about all the things that were going to be coming up, and she needs to be held, about all the things that were coming up. And now you see why I haven't made a vlog. I've been busy. How my life was going to change, what was going to happen with the birth family and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't get a lot of sleep. And it was a great experience, but the only thing that had kind of kept me going through this whole process of being thousands of miles away from home in Sacramento for weeks and weeks and weeks, dealing with the logistics of that, dealing with being in the NICU, learning how to be a new parent, handling the adoption legal stuff and procedural stuff, and maintaining a relationship with the birth family. It was just I couldn't do this forever. It was just a matter of time. The only two things that were saving me in this process was I was getting lots and lots of sleep every night, anywhere from 10 to 12 hours. I would go home from the hospital and just do the basics at the Ronald McDonald house, and then go to sleep, and then sleep for 10 or 12 hours, and eating lots of food to keep my energy up. And what broke that cycle, and that's what kind of was keeping me functional through this whole process, what broke that cycle was staying in the hospital that night and not getting a full night's sleep. And I think on that was Saturday night. I went home back to Ronald McDonald house on Sunday and basically did nothing all day, laundry and stuff like that, and naps. But it definitely started a countdown for me in terms of how much longer I was going to be able to do this before I just collapsed from exhaustion. So I knew I didn't have a lot of days left in terms of just getting worn down emotionally and physically, and I was doing everything I could to keep my energy up, and but it was getting pretty hard at that point to do. So what happened was, I think it was on Sunday the 5th, Jeanette was our nurse in the NICU for the babies, and she had been the nurse some weeks before, and she was really great. I mean, I think she sensed that the twins were really ready to be pushed a little bit in terms of what they were eating, how much they were eating, and that they conceivably could be coming out of the hospital sooner than people were thinking. And so that day, she and I helped kind of push them, and they did really well. On the 4th, actually, they did really well with their feed. And so suddenly the doctors were talking about, I'm looking at my cell phone with my calendar so I can get my days right. The doctors were talking about, maybe we'll release Emma on the 6th, which was Monday of October, and then Layla would come out later in the week. And actually, in the intervening time, there's been a little bit of a name change for the babies. So Emma is still Emma, but her middle name is Grace, so it's Emma Grace. And you might hear me refer to her as Grace sometimes. You kind of alternate between the two. Emma Grace. And then Layla, we changed her name a little bit to Lucy. You hear me call her Lucy now. Layla is now Lucy. And her middle name is Jane, so Lucy Jane. Okay. So, I lost my train of thought. But basically, they were doing really well. And so, the doctors were talking about maybe Lucy, a.k.a. Layla, coming out a couple days later or something like that. So, I'm going to the hospital on Monday morning thinking that Emma is going to be released. And it's common for one to be released before the other, but it kind of presents hardship for me because once Emma comes out of the hospital, I have to take care of her full time. And it gets very difficult for me to go back into the NICU and see Layla/Lucy. And they won't let me bring Emma back in because she's been kind of out in the world, and they don't want her bringing in any kind of infectious agents into the NICU, very understandably. So I'm going to have a problem in terms of how I'm going to do that. And also, I needed to get a crib and formula and everything like that for the room at the Ronald McDonald's house, which they were very helpful with providing. So I'm all set up, going to hospital Monday. And Gail, who is the head nurse at the NICU, called, and she's really great. She says, you know, I didn't have to tell her this. She kind of figured out that it was going to be difficult for me. So she called and said, well, you know, how would you feel about us releasing both of them, both Emma and Lucy, tomorrow? And I think that's great. That really simplifies things for me. And I can pick them up tomorrow and stay at the Ronald McDonald's house on Tuesday night. And my dad can come up from the Bay Area, San Francisco, on Wednesday, and then we can go home. So that's the plan. And I kind of feel like that it's important, and it's my responsibility to let the birth family know that that the baby is going to be released, because shortly thereafter we're going to be going back to the Bay Area for a couple of weeks and for some paperwork stuff to clear before we leave the state, and then we'll go to South Carolina. So it's kind of the last chance to see them. So I call the people on the birth mom and birth father side, and a lot of people come in for, you know, kind of final visits, and that's kind of the day. That's Monday the 6th. Right. Okay. So now I'm driving into the hospital, presumably to pick up the babies on Tuesday morning, and I get a call from Gail. And Gail says, well, you know, they really didn't do well with their feeding on Monday, and we think that it was because they had so many visitors, a lot of stimulation for them, and that they kind of got tired and didn't do real well with all their feeding. And so Gail and I talked, and said, well, you know, Gail, why don't we just make Tuesday today a no-visit day, and no one will come in and see them, and it'll give them a chance to rest so that they'll be ready to be released from the hospital. And so that's what we decided to do. And so Tuesday goes well, but I have to tell you, on Tuesday, I look so physically tired and exhausted. When I get to the hospital, it's just like a parent. Like Gail picks up on it right away. She says, you know, you're going to have to be careful because if you don't watch it, you're going to get sick. And that's like, for me, that's a nightmare scenario, because if I'm sick, I really shouldn't be taking care of the baby, because I could give them something and then they would be right back in the hospital, and I would not want that. And I'm not at a point where Matt's not out in California yet. He's still back in Colombia. So this is really like, I've been worrying about this for days and doing everything I can to not get sick, but physically I can just feel my body. It's just like, at that point, all it's going to take is a handshake with the wrong person or touching the wrong doorknob, and boom, I'm going to be sick. So, and I said, you know, Gail, you're right. I am physically exhausted, and I cannot do this. But maybe one more day, I have to get out of Sacramento and back to the Bay Area, where I can just focus on being the baby. And she's like, okay, yeah, I get it, I understand. And of course, you know, they can't release the babies anyway. They can't release the babies because I say that. The babies have to be ready to be released on their own. So, so the plan is to try again for release on Wednesday, October 8th. And I'm like, okay, I can hang on for one more day, but that's it. And my feeling that night on October 8th is that, on the 7th, yeah, Tuesday the 7th, my feeling is either those babies are coming out tomorrow on October 8th or Wednesday, and I'm going back to the Bay Area with them, or I'm going back to the Bay Area by myself, because I just have to be honest with myself. I have reached my limit. I couldn't go another day beyond Wednesday. And I guess I would just have to go back to the Bay Area and take a day or two for myself, and then come back to pick them up when they're ready to be released. So that's kind of my thinking.